Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here today. As the title says, I'll be talking about economic resources for the classroom. And while I don't plan on saying anything controversial today, if I do, just know that my views are my views alone and not those of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, the Federal Reserve System, or the Federal Reserve Board. So I'll be looking at, we'll be doing kind of a, flyover, overview from above in 5 different areas or 5 different types of resources we have at the St. Louis Fed. Starting with page 1 economics, we'll be talking briefly about resources for teaching monetary policy. We'll be talking about badging and micro-credentials, Econ Lowdown, and then actually I took the women in economics slides out. But that's more for our college audiences. I'm sorry, I forgot to take it off the slide here. But let's jump into page 1 economics. If you aren't aware, page 1 economics is a short publication for the classroom, and we try to make them on topics that are relative to or related to the things that you're already teaching in your classes. And at the same time make them relevant and tied to events in the real world. So they are a supplement for what you're already doing or for the things in your textbook. So here are a few recent issues. So inflation expectations, the Phillips curve, and the Fed's dual mandate, the Fed's new monetary policy tools, COVID-19's effects on the economy and the Fed's response, and then independence, accountability, and the Federal Reserve System. So this group is actually really focused on the Federal Reserve, but not all the issues are about the Fed. So here are a couple other examples. Every other issue is what we call a focus on finance. And you will see the green highlighting here. So here are a couple recent issues. Beyond the hype, an introduction to crypto assets, if you're interested, or your students are interested in cryptocurrencies and NFTs and things like that. The endowment effect is actually behavioral economics and how it applies to personal finances. Here's one about income and wealth inequality. And then here's one about the output gap. So if you teach macro or AP macro, this is might be a really useful article. Just to give you a little picture about, what this publication is all about. So here's a recent one about Fed policy. Every issue, has figures and Fred graphs and kind of supplementary materials to support the text. And then we want to make sure this is a useful classroom resource. And so every issue comes with some kind of an assessment that you can use in the class with an answer key. And so this particular issue has 10 multiple choice questions. This is a screenshot of the first 5 of those questions. And then we do provide an answer key behind our teacher portal for teachers to access if they'd like. And we'll be talking more about Econ Lowdown later, but each page 1 economics issue is also available as an online learning resource. So here's an example. This is an article called Automation and the Minimum Wage. So the article talks about whether introducing automation, or actually we'll start with the minimum wage. The article looks at whether raising the minimum wage is an incentive for businesses to automate the jobs, to replace human labor with machines. So the article kind of talks about those relationships. So after the student reads the article, they click next, they get this online assessment. And when they take the online assessment, they submit it. And at that point, the quiz is automatically graded and feeds into your gradebook in Econ Lowdown. And I'll be talking a little bit more about Econ Lowdown a little bit later. So part 2 of our 4-part overview here is resources for teaching monetary policy. I have another session where I'm going to kind of dig in to monetary policy, but just to keep it short here, because we're just doing an overview, is that monetary policy has changed, and the way we teach it really needs to change as well. And so to support teachers and college professors as they transition to teaching the new material, because the textbooks haven't really caught up. We've developed a whole bunch of resources for teachers to use. Some of them are just designed for teachers, instructors, professors to read through so they understand what the changes are. And then other materials are actually things you can take into the classroom to support your teaching. So, here are a couple articles. The one on the left is one that we wrote for professors and teachers. So this is a longer, more detailed article, the Fed's new monetary policy tools. This is kind of everything that you'll want to know before you teach it. And then the one on the right is a shorter, simpler version, and this is one that you could use with students. So you can, how does the Fed use its monetary policy tools to influence the economy? So it relates it back to, what the Fed actions are and how that affects things like inflation and employment. We produced 4 short videos, again, to assist instruction. Notice this first one is, just shy of 4 minutes. This one is 2.5 minutes. 5 minutes and 4.5 minutes. So you could use all 4 together, and it would paint a pretty complete picture of the way the Fed does monetary policy now, or you could use them as needed to support whatever part of the instruction that you would like support for. We also developed an online learning module. So if the new material, maybe you don't have time to really dig in and learn it for yourself to start with, or maybe you just want some time for it to sink in, but you want your students to have exposure to it. You could assign this online learning module to your students, and they would get all of the new information. It's all contained in this module. There's a pre-test and a post-test. There are checks for knowledge. There are interactives along the way. And it's a way for you to make sure that your students get, the current information without spending a lot of your time in the classroom doing it. Or you could use it as a flipped classroom model where you assign it first. You could use it to reinforce what you do in the classroom, or you could do it to supplement what your textbook says. We also have this lecture guide. So, when we started this project, we did a lot of presentations and people were asking for the slides. And so we decided to basically give teachers and professors the tools they need to teach this lesson in their own classrooms. So if you find this on the website, you'll find the lecture slides. You'll find this lecture guide, which is step-by-step instructions. So show slide 1, and then it tells you, exactly what you want to say to explain slide 1. So, you can use the lecture guide for whatever support you need. And then you see in the lower right a study guide that you can use for teachers. And the study guide is really, a graphic organizer. So it's less about, listening for the keywords and filling in blanks. This one is really about making sure the students capture the main ideas that are being presented. Again, I have another session coming up in the next session about monetary policy, but if you're interested in learning about it or just kind of reinforcing, we have an entire web page full of resources. On that web page, you'll find this 15-minute primer. Okay, it's just a 15-minute overview. It's voiceover PowerPoint, nothing too fancy. This is a recording of a 52-minute webinar where we went, quite a bit deeper and answered questions at the end. So that might be a good introduction or review. Part 3 of the presentation is badging. So we've developed an entire suite of digital badges. And digital badges, sometimes called micro-credentials. So these are micro-credentials that you could earn, or you could even have your students take these badging courses and they can earn digital badges. We have currently 5 different topics or categories for the badges. The first one is a Citizen's Guide to Monetary Policy. The second one, an Educator's Guide to Monetary Policy. So there are teachers and professors who they themselves take the educator's version because it has some extra little tips along the way for teachers and professors, but they might assign the Citizens Guide to their students. So it becomes a pretty useful tool. Budgeting basics is just that. You could assign this to your students or anyone who's interested in learning why it's important to budget and how to budget and earn badges along the way. Data literacy for librarians. You don't have to be a librarian to take this, but it's some good data literacy points. And then Sneakonomics. It's actually based on a podcast, and it's about how to use economics in the elementary school classroom. So these are the 5 badging programs we have so far, and we will be expanding these as we go. I'm going to give you a little closer look at this one, An Educator's Guide to Monetary Policy. So the badge or the process is actually made up of 5 badges and then 1 micro credential. Okay, so and they come in order. We use Canvas, the LMS, as our delivery mechanism for these badging programs. And so when you log into Canvas, the first set of modules is about measuring economic output, or GDP. So you'll learn not only the basics of GDP, but really about how the Fed thinks about GDP in the policy making process. And then the second one, price stability. You'll learn about how inflation is measured and in the ins and outs of inflation. But again, all of this is in the context about well, how does the Fed think about inflation, or how does the Fed use inflation in its assessment of whether policy is in the right place. Likewise, the third badge here, maximum employment. You'll learn how to measure employment, unemployment, ins and outs there, but again, in the context of thinking how the Fed thinks about its mandate to promote maximum employment in the economy. And then we get kind of dig into the policy aspect. The 4th badge is the Fed and the dual mandate. And then the 5th one is about the policy tools. So at each step along the way, as you complete these short modules, you will earn a badge. And then if you earn all 5, you get the micro credential. All of this is free of charge. We at the St. Louis Fed pay for any of the costs associated with, we use an outside vendor for the badges, but it's free to you and your students. This is what the registration page looks like. So there's a place on our webpage to, in fact, let's go back. Okay, so when you click An Educator's Guide to Monetary Policy, this link, you'll go to this page. And this is where you register. You just click right here, An Educator's Guide to Monetary Policy, and you fill in your name and email address, and that generates an email that actually goes to me. And when I enter you in the system, Canvas generates an email and sends it to you with a link to get started. And so when you get this link, you just click Get Started. You go to the Canvas website. Chances are you're going to have to set up an account. So even if you use Canvas for your school, you can't really use that information because that's the login for your school's instance of Canvas. You're using our instance of Canvas, the St. Louis Fed. And so you'll click here for an account. You'll enter just your basic information that you gave us, your email address and your name. And when you enter that information and create your account, it will know which course you registered for, and you'll have access to that course. Once you have an account, then of course you just use the regular email and password. This is what the course looks like in Canvas, right? So we start out with a welcome. We have some navigation tips. There's a Q&A page if you have problems, and then you jump into the content. Here's a page. What is the federal funds rate? Why is it important? We use Fred graphs. Okay, if you're familiar with Fred, it is the world's largest data aggregator in the world, and we at the St. Louis Fed are the home of Fred, and we integrate these live Fred graphs along the way within the course to make sure that as you're learning about all of these monetary policy aspects, that you are seeing data, updated data in real time. We have embedded video. Some of the videos I talked about before are embedded in the course. And of course, there are quizzes and assessments at each step along the way. Here's an interactive assessment. So, you have the scenario, unemployment soars while inflation continues, okay? And then you do some analysis about how the Fed would respond to those economic situations. And then again, once you're done with these modules, as you finish each of these modules, you'll get an email from Credly in using the same email bot that you use to register. And if you click the accept your badge, you'll go to this Credly website, and you'll enter your access information, and you'll be able to download your badge from their website. And from there, you can share it on LinkedIn. You can put it in your email signature line, share it on other social media aspects, but it's yours to use at that point. So here's some examples of people that I just, I was out on LinkedIn and I noticed that these people had taken the course and were sharing their badges on LinkedIn. I want to pause here for questions. Says, what level of high school students would the digital badges be appropriate for? Also, okay, good questions. All of the badges would be appropriate for high school. You could probably use the budgeting badge one for middle school if your students were really interested in personal finance, but most of these are really pitched at the high school or even the college level, like a senior level course, an AP course, those kind of things would be like perfect. There's no cost to you, the school, or the student. The St. Louis Fed picks up all of the costs, and you'll never have to worry about entering any finance information or really any personal information aside from your name and your email address. So good question. So our next phase here is about Econ Lowdown. And I'm not sure if you have heard of Econ Lowdown, but Econ Lowdown is an online learning platform that we built from the ground up at the St. Louis Fed. And it has over 600 free teaching resources for you. So I'm going to give you just a brief overview, and we'll start our tour here. This is our main page for St. Louis Fed Economic Education Resources. This is stlouisfed.org/education, or right here in the middle of the banner, there's a link here that says for teachers and students. If you click that link, it takes you to this page. You see that we have a number of filters. We have 600 resources in Econ Lowdown. This is a separate website. There's some overlap, but we have over 500 resources on this page. And with 500 resources, you don't want to spend your time weeding through all of them. So we built in some pretty powerful, filters. The first filter here is grade level, right? So once you filter by, say, high school, then on the next page, you can filter by, you're looking for a video about personal finance, and you want it specifically about compound interest or whatever your search filters might be, and then it narrows it from there. But we're going to start this link over on the left hand side, Econ Lowdown Teacher Portal, and when you click that link, it takes you here to econlowdown.org, which is our Econ Lowdown Teacher Portal. If you don't have an account, there's a spot right down here that says register for a free account. If you do have an account, this is your login. By the way, we do have a newsletter, and the fastest way to get signed up for that newsletter is right here on the main Econ Lowdown page. Simply put in your email and you'll be subscribed. So the first step in using this as a classroom tool is to build a syllabus, right? So we give you the tools to build a syllabus for your classroom. You can use kind of these text boxes to add any context that you want. That's completely optional. But then you go out and we use kind of an Amazon shopping cart model where you go out among the 600 resources that we have, you select them, and then they get added to your syllabus. The syllabus, is very much, it's almost like a sandbox mode. If you talk about development, web development at all, this is very much in your workspace. So these arrows here means you can move them up and down in order. You can delete them here with the trash can. You can set up dates. These are activation dates. So if you have these set up, with these dates, the assignment will appear to the students on the begin date and disappear at the end date. So you can actually set up your entire course ahead of time, and as the dates come up, these things will be automatically activated on the student side. This is what the downloadable PDF, we usually think of a syllabus as something a teacher hands out, maybe on the first day of class or the first week. You build your syllabus online, but we've also built in this ability to download the PDF and hand it out if you so desire. Once you set up your students in your classroom, you click a button and your your students will get an email like this, and it has everything that they need to access the information. So here's the course name, Intro to Economics. Student name is Corey Inflation. The student code and password are there, and the student link. There's some basic information about getting started. So the student clicks the link, enters their information, and they're seeing the syllabus that you've created for them. This is what the student page looks like. So this is where they enter their username and password. And this is what a student syllabus looks like, right? So the syllabus I showed you a few minutes ago was kind of the back end, right? Is where you, the instructor, are building the syllabus, but we've put some polish on it. So this is what the student actually sees when they log in. Again, these kind of things are optional. They're if the instructor wants to add some context for the class. But you can see these videos that have been assigned. They have begin and end dates. That gives a status. So the student, it says unviewed. So the student knows that they haven't done this assignment yet. And if they want to do this assignment, they simply click the launch button, and it opens the assignment. So here's a closer look. We're zooming in a little bit. We're going to launch this one. So the student will click here, launch, and they'll get the video. This is on Production Possibilities Frontiers, or Production Possibilities Curves. We've produced these videos. There's 3 short segments. Instead of having one long video, we've broken these up into subtopics so you can use them in the best way possible. The student will just watch the video, and then they can choose to watch it as many times as they want. And then when they're ready, they click, I've got this, quiz me, and they get this series of multiple choice questions. So this one has 7 questions. And again, these are auto-graded. So as soon as the student is done with the quiz, those scores load up into your Econ Lowdown gradebook. And from there, you can download them into Excel to upload into your grading program, or use them however that would be most useful for you. The student gets feedback. Okay, so the student got this question correct, and then they would click the next question. And then they get this feedback at the end. So you scored 100%. If it's less than 100%, we do have it built in for the videos, especially the students can rewatch the videos many times as they want, and they can retake the quiz as many times as they want, and the system will capture the highest score. So this is really about, mastering basic concepts and vocabulary, rather than like a high stakes test, right? These videos are relatively short. They introduce basic information, and it's really about making sure that students, master these concepts before you move on. If you are a Planet Money fan, we actually have 28 episodes of Planet Money in Econ Lowdown. And so, if you go into Econ Lowdown and search by Planet Money, or here in this group, we've actually created a group for Planet Money. So if you check that box, you'll go from 611 resources to 28, and they'll all be Planet Money. This is how they look to students. So this is and if you're a fan of Planet Money, you know that these episodes are 20-ish, 25 minutes long, normally on NPR or on the podcast app. But these are specially edited versions of the podcast. And so this one is just over 4 minutes, which is more conducive to classroom use. And how GDP is like your GPA. Students listen to 4-minute podcast, like the videos, they can listen to it again. When they're ready, they take the quiz, they get their questions, they take the quiz, and they get feedback, and you get the scores. We also have another category within Econ Lowdown. It's called the reading Q&As. These are short articles, and these articles are page 1 articles. I mentioned them before, but these are relatively short articles intended for students. They introduce or expound on basic economic concepts and tie them to things that are kind of happening in the world, or topics that happen to be widely discussed. So here are 3 of them. On the Move, Renting Basics. This is a focus on finance. So it's really an introduction to the things that young people need to know as they think about renting an apartment, like renter's insurance, and what a down payment is, or a security deposit, and kind of all those things that young adults should know before they start looking for that first apartment. And then I have 2 page 1s featured here. Will robots take our jobs? Okay. There's long been a fear that technology would just take over human labor. This article talks about this from an economic perspective. Here's one on Bitcoin, asking whether Bitcoin is money or financial investment. And so again, this is the student view. When the student is ready to take this assignment, they would simply click launch, and here's access to the essay. Students will read through the essay, click next. They'll get their questions, right? Their multiple choice questions. When they're done, they'll click submit, and they'll get a score, and they'll be auto graded and added to your grade book. So here's an example. So this person got 100%, 12 of 12 points, and students get not only a score, but if they got it wrong, it identifies which ones were wrong. We're gonna see if the sound comes through on this. I'm gonna watch the chat box, and if someone could tell me whether the sound is coming through, that'd be great.
I don't hear anything.
Is it worth $2,000? Huh?
I didn't say anything.
I did. Who are you? I'm the credit card you just used to pay for that $2,000 pizza.
What are you talking about? It only costs $9.95.
Yes, if you paid it off within the grace period. But you only pay the minimum due. You've almost maxed out your $500 credit limit, mostly on pizza and other impulse purchases. So just keep paying the minimum. It will take you 267 months to pay me off. And all those little charges will wind up costing you $2,129 based on an 18.9 annual percentage rate.
We better enjoy this pizza. You'll be paying for it for 22 years. I wouldn't talk if I were you.
Who's that?
Uh-oh. That's my credit card.
That's right. And you owe about $3,000 on me.
That's not so bad, is it?
No, except you only make the minimum payments too. That means you'll be paying for that smartwatch about 2 decades after it's gone out of style. By then, that $3,000 balance will have cost you $12,774 in your annual percentage rate, which is also 18.9%.
So you're saying we shouldn't use credit?
Oh, not at all. Credit cards are a powerful tool when you let them work for you.
Credit cards are handy and safe for online purchases, and we can be a lifesaver in an emergency. We help you establish the good credit that will help you purchase important things like a car or home.
Use credit within your budget. Try to stay away from impulse purchases.
Like food?
And clothes?
It's fine to use us for a special celebration,
Or to buy a suit for an important interview.
but remember to think before you spend and stay within your budget.
Here are some simple guidelines for managing your credit.
It's okay to have credit cards, but manage them responsibly.
And you really need to pay your bills on time.
Keep your balances low on credit cards and other revolving credit.
Pay off debt rather than moving it around to other credit cards.
Don't open a lot of new accounts too rapidly.
And finally, check your credit report often
Remember, keep your credit working for you.
and not the other way around.
All right, so there's one example of a video. I have one other, and I did get a note. It says they'll need to make sure they've selected share sound, bottom left corner when they share their screen. And I'm going to just okay. Oh. All right. I'm going to just show a little part of this one. This one has a similar look and feel, but different topic, right? This is saving for college. So if you have juniors or seniors or even younger high schoolers, this might be a good resource for them as they think about, what it means to save for college and why or how to think about college as an investment.
Meet Martina Flores. Martina knows that education is important and that it will help her be successful in life. But with the rising cost of a college education, obtaining a degree seems almost impossible. In this episode of Continuing Education, we're going to discuss investing in human capital, factors to consider when choosing a college, and ways to fund higher education. Economists use the word investment to refer to spending on capital, which can be either physical capital, such as tools and equipment, or human capital, such as education and training. Investment in human capital is the effort that people put into acquiring education, training, and experience to increase their productivity and earn higher incomes. Martina is debating between a career as an elementary school teacher or a computer programmer. Either career requires a college degree. She has to decide which career is best for her and what college to attend. There are some important points Martina should consider when she makes her decisions. One source of career information is the Occupational Outlook Handbook on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. Martina visits the BLS website and learns that in 2012, an elementary school teacher with a 4-year degree earned a median annual salary of $53,090, while a computer programmer with a 4-year degree earned a median annual salary of $74,280. She also learns that the expected job growth for elementary teachers over the next decade is 12%, and for computer programmers, job growth is 8%. Although the expected salary is lower, Martina really enjoys working with children and thinks she would prefer a teaching career. Now Martina moves on to her next decision. What college should she attend? There are some important things for Martina to consider here as well. One is return on investment. Return on investment, or ROI, is a term used in relation to financial investment, such as the purchase of a stock or a bond. Return on investment tells us how well the investment performed. In this case, we use the term ROI to think about the cost of 4 years in college in relation to the potential income that could be earned. Martina knows her expected income from her visit to the BLS site, but now she needs to consider the financial costs of attending college. Should she attend a public or a private university? Between 2009 and 2013, the average cost of attending a 4-year public university, including tuition, room, and board, was $65,238, while the average cost of attending a 4-year private university was $132,853. Given Martina's projected median income, should she only consider public universities? Not necessarily, but she should consider cost. Of course, a lot depends on whether Martina has scholarships and grants, or whether she has to pay the full cost herself, which might require student loans. How should Martina decide which university to attend? Some of the criteria she should consider are the student-to-teacher ratio, the qualifications of the professors, the types of organizations and clubs available, job placement services, and the school's location. These factors and many more will contribute to Martina's experience and could affect her probability of graduating from college and landing a good job. Martina thinks public university is a better choice for her. It's a good fit with high quality faculty, lots of organizations and clubs in which she is interested, excellent job placement services, and a convenient location. And because the cost is lower, the return on her investment is likely to be higher. So now she needs to determine how to pay for her education. Along with scholarships and grants, she can use a combination of these methods: pre-funding, post-funding, and funding from current earnings. Pre-funding is saving money ahead of time. Post-funding means taking out student loans that must be repaid after graduation. And funding from current earnings is paying for college with the income from a current job. Martina is lucky that her parents started saving when she was younger. They opened a college savings account under her name and contributed money to it annually. However, the amount Martina's parents saved is not enough to cover the full cost of college, so Martina will need a loan. She could acquire a federal loan or a private loan. Federal loans are made by the U.S. Treasury and have slightly more flexible repayment plans. Martina found good information about federal student loans at this site, studentaid.ed.gov. Private loans are made by private banks and have slightly higher interest rates than federal loans. Using her college savings with a college loan, Martina can pay for her tuition and room and board. But she'll have additional expenses such as books, gasoline, and personal spending money. She's decided to look for a part-time job that gives her the flexibility to attend classes. By thinking through all of these considerations, Martina can earn the degree she wants at a reasonable cost. College is an investment, and there are risks. Making careful choices about what college to attend and how to pay for it reduces the risk. And college pays off. Those with a college degree have greater lifetime earnings than those with a high school diploma, and they are less likely to be unemployed. Visit stlouisfed.org for more information on these and other economic topics. Today's application is brought to you by Econ Lowdown.
All right, so that gives you a flavor of what some of our videos are like. Again, that's 2 examples from a much broader spectrum of videos in both personal finance and economics. All of these videos are available on our website either to stream in your classroom, or they're available in Econ Lowdown, where you can add them to your syllabus and assign them to your students. And then in that case, there's a quiz associated with the video. They're also available on the St. Louis Fed YouTube channel. And if that's a format that's easier, they're also available there. But before we kind of wrap up and do some Q&A, I do want to let you know about how you can stay in touch with the St. Louis Fed. So we do have a subscribe button on our webpage, and if you use that subscribe button, you can sign up for newsletters and alerts to make sure that when we publish, new lessons and videos and things like that, that you're aware of it. The Econ Lowdown newsletter is a once a month newsletter that just kind of lists what we've got going on as far as events. We do a number of webinars. If you live relatively close to St. Louis, which I guess you don't, but if you want to visit St. Louis, we'd love to have you. And we also host in-person events, and the webinars and the in-person events are all free. But also in that newsletter, we'll include new lesson plans, featured lesson plans, new videos, new online learning modules in Econ Lowdown, etc. Page One Economics is, once again, that publication that we produce once a month. It's really intended for students. It's pitched at, when we write Page One Economics, our intended audience is like a high school student, maybe an AP student, or maybe even like an introductory level student in college. So they might be taking Econ 101, AP Econ, or the high school economics course. There's somewhere, in that realm is what we're shooting for as far as reading level, etc. So if you subscribe there, every time we come out with a new issue of Page One Economics, we're just going to shoot you an email. That email will include a description of the article and a link, so you can click the link and access the article if you so choose. Another way to do this is to subscribe to email alerts for new resources. So if you check this box, it says high school lesson plans, activities, and other resources. Whenever we publish a new lesson or video, we'll send you an email with a link so you can check that out. And then if you teach college level courses, same thing, you would check that box and you would be alerted to those resources. We do have time for questions. If you can either put them in the chat box. I don't know if you have the ability to unmute, but if you do, I'd be happy to take questions that way too. Or if there's anything that you want to hear more about or see more about, I can go onto the website and show you specifically where those resources are.
Everyone should have the ability to unmute themselves and ask questions if you like.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. I can also take you to our website. Let's see here. All right, so now I'm showing Econ Lowdown live. So I'm going to put my credentials in here. And I'll hop over here to the resource gallery. Here we have 612 resources. As far as the filters go, let's say that you're interested in Planet Money. We check this box, click apply, and we go from 612 resources to 28. We can scroll through, see if any of them look interesting. This is a good one. The history of light and economic growth. If we click the little magnifying glass, we get a little preview. On the left-hand side, we see, you know, it's expected to take 10 minutes. It's you know, targeted at or for high school, college students. These are the tags. This is kind of a synopsis. The answer key, if you're interested in what the correct answers are, is here. If you're interested in what standards that we're aligned to, there. And if you're interested in other resources on the topic, you can find them right there. If you want to listen to the podcast ahead of time and see what your students will be listening, you can listen to the podcast. You can see the quiz. Okay. And if you decide that's one you want to add to your classroom, you click this little box and you can add it to your classroom. Likewise, if you're interested in page 1 economics, and we'll sort here by like most popular. Okay, so we have, there's an article about inflation, which, you know, I guess, given the circumstances, we can see why that was a popular article this year. We have one here about that Bitcoin article is here, which has also been a hot topic this year. We have a lot of personal finance topics up at the top. Here's one about if you teach market structures, if you teach economics and you talk about perfect competition, monopolistic competition, and monopoly. Here's an article that looks at the airline industry from that perspective, and you know, talking about whether you know, airlines are oligopoly or monopolistic competition. Here's one about stock market strategies. So you may have heard Warren Buffett talking about index funds, or you know, what economists call passive investment. This article talks about the two different strategies, whether you buy actively managed funds or index funds. It talks about it, lays out the case for each strategy, and then kind of lets the student decide what their preference is. Here's the quiz. This one has free response boxes instead of multiple choice. But the student takes the quiz, and then there's a form, a web form for the teacher where they can, you know, score these responses, and they'll be added to the gradebook. All right, and unless anyone has questions, I will cede my time. You have about 10 minutes till the next session.
8 minutes. Yes.
Okay. So I want to thank you for joining me. Feel free. My name is Scott Walla. You can email me with questions. I answer my email, and I'm happy to answer any questions or direct you to any resources that you might be looking for. So have a great day and have a great Thanksgiving coming up.